Добрый день, коллеги. Рад приветствовать вас на сессии «Городская среда как искусство. Какие ценности несет современная архитектура». Меня зовут Петр Кудрявцев.
My name is Petr Kudryavtsev. I am the partner of City Makers Company, and today we'll be talking with Sergei Tchoban, the head of Speech Bureau. He is also my friend, and I really miss him in Moscow. Sergei, the floor is yours. Yes, dear Petr, thank you very much. I miss you too. That's a unique situation we are facing with. I'm very thankful. It's a big honor to be part of this forum that is held in an unusual format. I think no one minds if we will be referring to you as you. And last time we were talking over the phone, I was very interested in what is happening with you and with Bureau and with your Bureau in Berlin and in Moscow. And what do you feel about what is happening right now? So I would like to ask you to tell us what changed for you within this year. I mean, in terms of life and work, much has changed. First of all, the amount of trips and the feeling that you are always on the road. This is something I don't feel because I used to travel on a weekly basis between Germany and Moscow because I have offices there. And now, starting from March, I've been practically all the time in Berlin. I have been in a lot of towns of Germany because I work there, and when it was needed to have face-to-face meetings, they were arranged. So I have been in Göttingen, in Hamburg, and Offenbach. I have been to Italy twice. Unforgettable impressions because it was half empty. However, I saw people in Rome, but in Manto, where I was invited to one of the few offline lectures that were held in the university in Magor. That was unforgettable. Everything was so empty. As for the work of my offices, honestly speaking, the way of communication changed. A lot of meetings are held online, and as you know, here in Berlin and between our Berlin offices of our partners, everything is an online format, and basically in 20 minutes I'll have one more conference. Even though everyone is Berlin, they're still in their own offices. And talking about Russian office, I always keep in touch with them in online format. Practically all presentations with our customers are held in online format, and I like that everyone takes it with understanding. And I have to admit that traveling by planes is not the healthiest option. So there is a certain advantage because you spend less time there. Because they do not have very positive effect on health. Considering we have limited time, I would like to go to the important questions. You really feel the start of some trends, and when we talk to you, we spend a lot of time discussing future. So when we talk about architecture as a profession, what is your feeling as an architect in this world? Do you feel that anything changed? Has architect became more focused, or it has a wider scope now, or it's lost his positions, or towns are being reinvented now? What could you say on this? I'm under impression that in the nearest future, architects, including here on the West, will be trying to regain their positions as generalists, primarily talking about two dimensions. First, buildings turned into too smart and overly equipped machines, and it is true. Just a few days ago, I was at the construction site of a large quarter who is the supplier of energy here in Germany. This is the largest commercial wooden building. I looked at how they fill in this building with equipment, and I was horrified. I thought to myself, what is the role of architect here? It's a huge coordination in terms of engineering. That is why many architects ask today, do we need to go back to more traditional way to build the buildings, to limit the amount of engineering equipment that provides a comfort at any time of the day and any time of the year, because a lot of energy is used for this. For example, one German architect made a very interesting project. It is very simple. He built 3 buildings made of cement. There are no equipment, no insulation. It was built in 17th century. The second made of wood, the third out of bricks. And together with his client, which is in a small town of Germany. So they said, let us decrease our requirements toward life. And if in summer the temperature in the room is 28 degrees, let us just go to a different room, which is colder. So let us not ensure a perfect climate in every point of the apartment. Let us not spend that much energy for super comfort that we're used to, that we're dependent on. So I see a trend in this. It's a very interesting story about the health. It's good for us to be healthy, but do we really need to create these machines for living, where everything is cleansed, where tests are taken, or should this be emotional health primarily, when you feel safe, not because you have some amazing air conditioning system or a toilet that tests the level of sugar, but because you live in a house that is close to you from a statics viewpoint, and you're always relaxed there, because it is obvious that stress is a catalyst for serious illnesses. This is true. The first point of your question was that how much we really need to surround ourselves with this amount of equipment and monitor all different processes that are happening inside the house and inside the temperature. Well, this monitoring includes a huge use of electronics, and together with cement wall that decrease the porosity of the buildings, which leads to so-called electric smoke. And this is a true story. And when being in this electric smoke, person loses part of his immunity. This is what doctors say. And this can be checked. You can check how high this level is for a certain person. And I think this is a very dangerous trend. So mental health, physical health, they are interconnected. And if you feel comfortable in a cozy home, then this is the indicator of a physical health. However, physical health strongly relies on how comfortable you feel in certain living conditions, which includes interaction with natural materials, lack of excessive use of machines and equipment. We often talk about serious and rational things, even though 5 years ago we would be mostly discussing the aesthetics or the history of architecture. What is your opinion? Current situation, can it put to the second stage the architecture as art? Same as happened to poetry.
с точки зрения формообразования или типологии, и реализовать
and
это не потому, что это,
cannot be implemented
скажем так, рационально,
not because it
безопасно и
is
так далее, а
rational,
просто потому, что это
safe,
красиво.
but because it is beautiful.
Ты знаешь, само ощущение,
The
что
very
красиво, оно,
feeling of what is
безусловно, в серьезной
beautiful
степени меняется.
uh,
Весь
has been
20 век, он
changing
был
over the
связан
20th
с
century.
абсолютным плюрализмом
It was about
высказываний. Самые
pluralism,
разные высказывания
very different
казались
ideas,
красивыми и интересными. Ну,
seem
например,
beautiful
если
and
до конца
interesting.
19 века было абсолютно
For example,
очевидно,
until 19th
что
century, it
формы и
was
здания
obvious
должны быть
that
простыми,
forms and shapes
спокойными,
of
они должны
buildings
быть
should
общими
be
направлениями,
relaxed, they should
большими
have
или
a window
меньшими,
framed,
а иконические здания это в основном
and
были шпили
cone
и
buildings
купола, которые
included
тоже уменьшались
domes
сверху. Это была
that would
абсолютно
narrow down towards the top.
определенная выбранная
That
система,
was a very
скажем,
specific
ценностей,
system of
архитектурных,
values, of
пропорциональных и так
architectural
далее.
values,
То
of
с
proportional
приходом
values.
языка 20 века
However, in
мы знаем,
20th
что любые
century,
возможности
we
стали
have
легитимны.
learned that
Например, там,
any
горизонтальный
options are
небоскреб,
legitimate. For
тяжелый верх,
example,
легкий низ,
horizontal
абсолютно
skyscraper,
стеклянные
which
фасады,
is
ленточные окна. То есть любое
totally
высказывание,
glass covered.
только бы оно было новым, только оно было бы
So
свежим и
today, what is
возбуждало
important is
каким-то
for
образом.
ideas to be new and
Казалось интересным.
inspiring.
Ну и,
That is
безусловно,
what
я
is
думаю, что мы
interesting now.
находимся в той точке,
And
когда
I
произошла
think that
некая
we're at the
инфляция этих
point
интересных
when
высказываний,
inflation of these interesting
и
ideas
люди
happened,
испытывают
and
некую ностальгию по
people feel
прошлому,
certain
именно не по прошлому в
nostalgia
смысле
towards past.
эстетическом, повторим неоклассику и так далее, а именно по
We're not
прошлому
talking
по
about
комфорту
aesthetics,
традиционного
but
дома,
about the comfort of
по
traditional
комфорту
home,
подойти к стене,
about
постучать по
comfort
ней
of
и не услышать
touching the wall
гулкий звук
and
пустоты, потому что это
not
какая-то
hearing the
шторка на
sound of
стене навешена, а
emptiness,
за ней
because
теплоизоляция
it's just
ужасная, которая является жутким
something
мусором,
that covers the wall,
который
while
непонятно как
behind it is
использовать, когда он
some
выйдет из
kind
строя.
of trash
И,
and emptiness.
собственно говоря, ощущение вот этой солидности
So the
дома,
feeling
того, что
of
дом
this
сделан руками,
solidity
вот это,
that a house is handmade,
безусловно, тенденция.
this is
И
the
в
trend that
этот
I see.
момент, ну, скажем так, искусственно,
And
казалось бы, сделанное, созданное,
this artificially
выращенная
created
красота, такой
beauty,
эстетизм, он,
this
да, в данный
aesthetics,
момент уходит
as
на
of
второй план.
now,
Если
is
смотреть публикации в самых разных странах,
subsiding.
Швейцарии,
If you
во
look
Франции,
at the
в Италии,
publications
в
in France,
Германии,
Italy,
то
Germany,
увидишь, что дома очень
then you will see
простые,
that buildings are very
очень
simple,
рациональные,
very
с элегантными
rational,
деталями,
with
но в
elegant
основном
details,
все-таки дома,
but
как мы это называем
predominantly
по-новорусски,
these are
low-tech,
the
то есть
low-tech
дома, в
buildings,
которых не ощущается
the
огромное
houses where you do not
присутствие
feel the
технических
presence
средств.
of
Вот это является
equipment.
сейчас в большей степени способом и предметом размышлений,
This is the
чем
subject for
создание
consideration
еще
right
более
now,
изящных форм, еще
rather
более
than creating
экстраординарных
more
жестов.
elegant
Это
forms.
Помнишь, мы с тобой много говорили
Do you remember
на
we have
молодежной
discussed a
биеннале,
lot
которую,
at
мы
Youth
делали
Biennale
с
that we
Натальей
arranged with
Бигмагметовой в
Natalia
Казани.
Bigmagmetova in
Очень важное
Kazan?
мероприятие, на мой
Well,
взгляд,
that was an
исключительно
important
потому,
event,
что оно как
primarily
раз
because
показывает
it
устремление молодых
demonstrated
архитекторов
the inspirations of young
что
architects
они чувствуют вообще
and
сейчас,
told us what they
и
feel right
каким
now
образом вот для них
and
формируется вот это вот ощущение
how
будущего.
this feeling of
Как тебе
future forms for them.
кажется, хорошо ли
What is
молодые
your opinion
архитекторы сейчас могли бы
on the
адаптироваться
following?
к этой новой ситуации?
Can
Или
young
они даже не
architects
адаптируются, для
adapt to
них
this
это могло бы быть
situation?
просто естественным
Or
продолжением того,
this
что они
could be a
делают?
natural
Именно
process
вот
for
с точки
them,
зрения этой пропорции эстетики
talking from
и
viewpoint of this
рациональности.
proportion of aesthetics and rationality.
И этики, да-да-да.
Yes, aesthetics and ethics.
Ты знаешь, мне показалось
Well,
как раз по работам той биеннале, в которой
at
мы вместе
that
активно
biennale that we
работали,
had
что
worked on
как раз
together
молодые архитекторы,
with,
они
I
очень
think
хорошо
that young
чувствуют эту
architects feel
тенденцию.
this trend very
И
well.
большое количество проектов,
And a lot of projects
которые были особенно отмечены своим
that were specially noted
они как
in
раз
terms of
и,
quality
показывали вот эту,
demonstrated
скажем, вот
this
это отсутствие восхищения
lack
какими-то
of
экзальтированными жестами.
admiration of these gestures,
тонкую
excessive
позицию,
gestures.
но при этом
They have
не
desire to
излишне
create something
переусложненную,
not
среду,
overly
в
complex
которой
environment,
сохраняется прошлое, даже если
which
это
still
прошлое,
has the
может быть,
past,
еще вчера не было
even if
достойно быть
it
сохраненным. Сегодня мы
yesterday it
считаем,
was
что это
not
нужно
deserved to
сделать,
be
потому что
saved, but
потрачена
today we
некая
believe
энергия
that it is
на
worth deserving
постройку
it,
этого прошлого,
because
и
some time
зачем
and
же
energy was
выбрасывать,
spent
если можно
to
что-то
construct
поместить
it.
туда.
So why throw it
Хотя,
away
опять
if you
же,
can place
мне
it
кажется,
here?
очень умно
And
рассматривались
I think it is very smart
объем затрат на
to
сохранение
consider the
этого
volume
прошлого
of
и,
expenses
скажем,
for
объем
keeping this
рациональности
past
его
and the volume
использования.
of
То есть тут тоже
rationality
можно
of using
смотреть
it.
То есть
So this should be balanced. So the approach to architecture and environment has become more rational on the one hand. On the other hand, it is very close. It is trying to be closer to what people need. The abstract beauty of one building gave the place to convenience, acceptance, and use of an environment that is created by architects. Well, I think that, and this is what I wanted to ask you about, because the projects that we had, they were very rational, which was very close to me. I'm not an architect. On the other hand, this is something that speeded up due to pandemic. What do you think? What trends that used to be in architecture before exacerbated or slowed down because of the pandemic? Well, the main trends are because people felt this international connections, opportunity to order any material from any place in the world and put it to the construction site. These opportunities are gone now. Foreign workers are gone from construction site, which is both bad for the developers and for workers. And plus, foreign materials are gone. So customers, even in countries where national resources prevailed, are now looking more closely to national construction industry. For example, in Germany, if you suggest material made in some other country, they say, no, we would like to use material that's made very close to the place where we built. It has always been like this. If you use in certain place, you use rocks from this place, or you use the bricks that is produced on the nearby brick factory, and which was planted for the works of architects, as it happened in Sibir. So all this was a part of single process. This is no longer transnational and multidimensional process where you can easily order anything you want from any place in the world and it would be delivered to you immediately for use. So construction and architecture is a material process. It is not virtual. So here limitations on communication in this point were felt immediately. Do you feel that it's possible from viewpoint of new horizons to use labor of architects from other countries, from other continents maybe, with totally different mentality to make projects for Russia and Germany? In theory, is it even possible that someone in Argentina, Australia, or Saudi Arabia is drawing a picture of a house for Moscow or Berlin? Well, yes, it is principle. It's possible, and it's been happening for quite a while in Berlin, in Germany, and in Moscow. I have heard about such small projects that were designed by foreign architects who are not really familiar with conditions in this country, but they could give a new bright idea for this country. But I think that pandemic pointed to the importance of personal communication, face-to-face communication, because we have been through all phases of remote work in Germany and Russia, and we clearly see that absence of this team spirit of opportunity to discuss around the table, to exchange energy during discussion of the project and while looking for solutions. Yes, it is a great deficit right now, and it leads to slowing down of the processes because a lot of energy is spent to talk with emptiness. For example, I'm talking to you right now, I know you very well, I miss you. However, someone else is listening and we don't know who. I have read a lot of lectures to nowhere. So you read a lecture, but you do not know how people respond. You do not know who is listening to it. Well, sometimes you get feedback in Instagram, but all this communication is happening with nothing. So this pandemic demonstrated that, as of now, maybe we haven't used to this way, but it doesn't bring the results that are similar to the results of face-to-face contact. I fully agree with you. Where do you look for inspiration now? I know that you draw a lot and read. The energy that used to fuel you when you communicated with people directly, where do you get it from now? Well, we still have some interaction with people in our office. We work in face-to-face format. I'm not alone in this office. Currently, I'm talking from my Berlin office. There are people here. We talk to them. We communicate with them. And the same happens in Moscow office. People talk. We talk with people via Skype, WhatsApp. We discuss a lot of issues all the time. But now everything is calmer. Well, I have recently opened an exhibition in Rome. Its main goal to accompany the main exhibition. At that exhibition, I research its historical town as a perfect town of Rome. And I draw a picture of how Rome could evolve in my horrible or beautiful dreams, and how it developed on the paintings of Gironese from antique times to Baroque. So what would have happened hadn't Rome fallen asleep in this perfect development before Baroque and then spiraling downwards? What if such a big European town developed the same fast? And we see this happening in other towns such as Berlin or Paris. And that exhibition is very important for me. I prepared it by the beginning of the year, but fully redrew it during pandemic. So 70% were done by me remotely. So yes, drawing is an interesting source for thinking for me. Well, I talk to myself while drawing. Sergei, I have a lot of questions, but unfortunately we have to end now. This was a brief interview, and I'm very happy that it finishes with mentioning of eternal town of Rome, who went through such amount of disasters, invades, pandemics, and other things, but still remains beautiful. And we miss this town a lot. And we also miss Venice, which is very close to you and me. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that I would like for Moscow to go through these unpleasant events while staying this eternal town where we live in, and the town that is waiting for you. Yes, this town is very important for me, and I really want to go to Moscow and to meet you in particular. I was very happy to see you. Thank you very much. Thank you too.